Hello and welcome, Mark Homer here. I'm going to give you a macroeconomic update today. Before we get started with this video, please can you make sure you like and subscribe. Things are changing quite fast. We've had a period where the newspaper's throwing all this cost of living crisis at us and inflation going above 10% and interest rates skyrocketing and Liz Truss crashing the economy and crashing the pound as Keir Starmer said, even though she didn't. Some of the big investment banks and some of the smarter people think inflation's probably peaked. The stock market started to react. It looks sort of 6 to 12 months ahead. And there's a feeling now that the worst could be over. Does that mean we're not going to have a recession? No, we probably still are in a recession currently. We just don't have the data yet. But what's looking more likely is it's going to be a shallow recession. Are interest rates going to go up more? Yes, I think there's probably still another 1%, something like that. To terminal interest rates. Inflation probably will drop significantly. Gas has come right off. So gas prices now are at a level not quite back to 2019, but well before Putin invaded Ukraine. So electricity prices will start to fall because they only get sort of reassessed every 3 months. Maybe you've got another sort of 6 months before you start seeing this, but that will feed into the inflation numbers. So inflation is probably going to something like halve, 4 or 5%. The only issue is how sticky it is and how you get it from sort of 4 or 5 back down to 2, because it could quite easily just rest around that sort of level. And they may have to push interest rates up even more over the medium to long term to get inflation down to 2% again. So that's the sort of macroeconomic picture. In terms of consumer spending, that's holding up reasonably well. Holidays are selling. Yes, people are buying less sort of consumables and maybe less food, and they're maybe spending less on themselves. But food prices have gone up, a hell of a lot. They're sort of at the end of the train or further into this train in terms of, where inflation hit the most. At what point. So food prices are going up, I think, over 11% at the moment. Energy was first, and it's feeding through into food now. So that'll take a while to come back down. But people have got a lot of savings from the pandemic, lots and lots of furlough money, lots of grants during the pandemic, and it seems there's still a good chunk of that left over. That's probably what's saved the economy most from consumer spending cratering like was many of the predictions a few months ago. If you're interested in learning more about property, we've got a free report just down there in the description. Things are probably turning out to be not quite as bad as people originally assumed they would be. If you also look at some of the sort of better cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, they've started to react, started to go up off the lows. If you look to the US and maybe less so Europe, things they're not turning around yet, but you can see where this thing ends and you can see a trajectory out of this, which is probably towards the end of this year. And loads of sort of investors, market participants, people buying sort of properties, if they can see the trajectory over a period of time, they probably start making decisions now to get ready for that. Are residential property prices going to continue to fall? Yes, quite likely. Lots of cars still got to be refinanced, houses, mortgages have got to be refinanced on much higher interest rates, and therefore affordability is going to drop a lot. So that's going to be a drag. Commercial property prices probably still going to carry on falling. Always takes time for those to adjust. When something happens, when something changes, like interest rates shot up, not really because of Liz Truss. Interest rates shot up because inflation is so high, because they did so much quantitative easing during the pandemic and all the supply chains were shut and suddenly opened after the pandemic. And of course, Putin's invasion, which they love to sort of blame everything on that, but that's probably less of a reason. That was more just energy. All the other stuff was probably more linked to QE, not increasing interest rates quick enough, early enough, and also the effects of all this consumer and sort of business demand on goods and services when all the supply chains, the factories, people were sort of shut after COVID. So that's pushed inflation higher and higher through higher prices. So the key to this is property continues to fall. It takes a while. The stock market reacts very, very quickly to these changes, but property probably takes 18 months to reset, and we're still in that reset. And I suspect the rest of this year you're going to see largely falling property prices. You may see the opposite with the stock market because it's getting ready for what's about to happen into next year. And commodities have come back. I still love the old staples, so your utilities. People will hate me for saying this, but tobacco's still great. I've had a few trades on the last few months. I shorted gas, which has been lovely. I made 655% on a spread bet, so there's no income tax. Only put £2,000 in, so made about 14 grand, but I'm quite happy with that. From here on out, I'm long on sort of FTSE, mid-cap UK especially, and I quite like a lot of sort of Asia Pacific and developing world stuff at the moment. America's had a really good run. I think technology's come off quite a bit now, but I'm probably not so long on that. Yeah, I think there's a load of UK stuff. We're so unloved internationally. Where's our plan? Where's our plan for growth? Where's our plan for improving productivity and investment? The UK is the sort of sick man of Europe. That needs changing. Somebody needs to create a plan and not just put taxes up and spending up. And at some point, I'm sure that will happen, and when it does, the values of our companies in this country on the stock exchange will react. So I quite like being in UK stuff because the PEs, the income is relatively high, and once the market sort of decides that we're investable again, the value and the capital values of all those stocks are going to go up. So for me, that's sort of buying value. I like that. So I hope that's given you a good summary of the sort of macroeconomic backdrop and a few microeconomic themes there for you to focus on into 2023. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe. If you're interested in learning more about property, we've got a free report just down there. That has been Mark Homer for Mark My Words, over and out.